Washington, D.C., an honor to be in front of all of you tonight. So here's something. A few weeks ago, the men of Dinosaur Jr. contacted me and they asked me a question. They said, would you like to come out for do about 8 shows with us? We're going to play the Bug album in its entirety. Would you like to... Oh, wait till you hear it. You're going to love it. And so they said, would you like to go on stage with us before we play and interview us? I typed the words yes so quickly I probably sprained my right hand. Like many of you, I'm a triple XL Dinosaur Jr. fan. So, for the last few nights, we've been going from the north of the Northeast, working our way south. Last night was Philadelphia, the night before was New York. The band is playing splendidly. It is a sonic explosion in your face that you're going to absolutely love and remember for the rest of your life. And tonight before Dinosaur, I hope all of you got a chance to check out the band Off. Featuring the one and only, the legendary Keith Morris, not only Black Flag's first singer, but Black Flag's best singer by a mile. So, you've been on your feet all evening. The last thing you want is a bunch of people talking for too long. So let's bring to the stage Dinosaur Jr. Gentlemen, tonight I want to start with an aspect of your sound that we talk about almost every night, but I want to get into it right from the top. Dinosaur Jr. is very loud. Dinosaur Jr., at least live, has always been very loud. And so, my question is first to Lou and Murph. Knowing that from the get-go, from what you guys have told me, Jay always came to practice, it was always cranked up. What did that mean to you all? What challenges did that make for a rhythm section trying to hear each other, and probably not the best PA, if you had one at all, trying to deal with this wall of sound that we're looking at behind us?
Well, I had to learn how to play, like hit really hard, and it actually just, it made Lou and I come together and just really work on getting the bass and drums really tight.
It was really painful at first.
Yeah, I remember Jay had this all-transistor amp called the Bullfrog, and it was just like painful.
Called the Bullfrog, and there was 4 12-inch speakers pretty much aimed right at us. And Jay would actually, he would have those like rifle muffs on, with just this frown on his face, teaching us the songs, and we would just literally be running through his parents' house, like trying to shove stuff in our ears because it was so painful. Like he kind of took he was sort of inspired by Bob Mould, who had the most like excruciating guitar tone on earth. So we kind of had to we had to adapt to that, so it's a lot of like getting right up next to Murph, and then also, I mean, you know, we watched the Minutemen. We went to see the Minutemen play at the Channel in Boston, and when you saw Mike Watt and George Hurley working together, like you understood that those two like really connected, and they stayed close to each other, and that's what we did. We kind of like physically close to each other, and we just sort of, you know, we found our little space in this hail of shrapnel.
Well, I know that the band is loud, but Jay, this is directed towards you. It never occurred to me that you were loud for the sake of loudness or loud to offend, but it seems to me to get the emotion of the song across, volume was required. And so was at any time, since it sounds like you started from the get-go loud, first off, why?
I was just coming from playing drums, and you know, when I tried playing guitar, it just seemed so wimpy in comparison. I was trying to, you know, make it feel somehow like the drums did to me, you know, just to give it some physical aspect, you know.
So musically, you started as a drummer.
Right.
And you were playing drums before you were Murphy. Okay. So like I said, it wasn't loud for loudness' sake. There was purpose to it. Now, over the years, I think your sound has evolved. I think so, in that it's not loud for loudness' sake. There's lots of stuff going on. You've got pedals. You're absolutely going for something. How has your sound in the last 25 years, or less, how's it evolved?
It's kind of been refined from the original concept, I guess. Just kind of finding, better ways to get across what I was thinking about. Just I found just over the years of, getting different amps and just getting my whole thing together.
Was it a constant trying pedals, trying different heads, trying different cabinets? Was there a sound you were after, or you were just trying to evolve as time went on?
Yeah, just always trying to evolve and try to get new sounds.
You guys got together in 1985. You started playing in Amherst. Okay. Which the result of the early days was an album on Homestead called Dinosaur, first album. So when that album came out, I remember it. There's nothing like it around it. I remember it was a great album. It's great now. It was great then. It was great then because it really stood out. There's no band that sounded like that. It was a real breath of fresh air. What were your expectations when that album came out? In that you guys are just a bunch of guys in a garage, and at one point you're holding an LP in your hand. What did you think was going to happen? Or what did you think was supposed to happen?
I think we thought we could send it to clubs and get gigs that way. It's better than having a cassette or something. It's more legitimate.
So you're going to use it as a calling card instead of coming in with some cassette. You're coming with an LP,
right.
Get taken more seriously. Okay, so what happened?
At first, not a lot. The shows were like pretty grim. There would be like 15 people a gig. A lot of people booing us. I remember one time we drove all the way down to Atlanta, and Global or the paperwork didn't go through, and we got all the way down there, and they didn't even know who we are, who we were, and they were like, "Yeah, we're having an open mic if you guys want to jam."
And was this first album, second album?
First album.
Okay. Going across the first three Dinosaur Jr. records, where you guys played on together, Dinosaur, the first one, You're Living All Over Me, the second one, of course. And the third one, obviously, Bug. And all of you are probably fairly conversant in all three records. I think you would all agree with me that there's a real musical evolution going on. Jay is the primary songwriter in Dinosaur Jr. The songs are getting better. Not that any of the records are bad, but the songs are becoming more evolved. You're becoming a better songwriter. You guys are cohesing, turning into a real rhythm section, and not only a real rhythm section, but a very powerful, smart rhythm section. What was incumbent upon you in those days? You hear a record like You're Living All Over Me comes out, you would hear it. Was that a propellant to get better? Did you hear it and go like, oh, we could have done it better, we must improve? Because one way or the other, you all improved. Was it by practice and dedication, or was it also fueled with, damn man, we gotta be better than this?
Play the hits!
They're all the hits, my friend.
I think when we finished the first record, and I think actually Jay's songs on that record are incredibly evolved and amazing, that first record, but I thought Murph and I, we were kind of struggling to keep up with it or find our space, so we started to actually practice just the two of us, on Jay's new songs, and we would that's where we started to lock in. And I was listening to I was also listening to a lot of Black Sabbath and stuff, and you're listening to the way that the rhythm section moves together, and you're like, man, we gotta do that. We gotta bring it like that. So it was a lot of just really taming Murph's drum style, and me physically locking into the way Murph plays. And we did it at we were so young, I guess, it's kind of like riding a bike, we really we developed this kind of machinery between the two of us then. And also we had to do that just so we could hear ourselves, we could sort of present something that was equal to what Jay was throwing out,
When the three of you were together practicing, was Jay's guitar so loud to where you guys are having difficulty locking in because you just couldn't physically hear each other? I'm going to try and throw this question as best I can. It's a little bit esoteric. Was there a time when you transitioned from some guys in the garage throwing songs together to, we're working on our next album, which we're going to sell, we're going to tour, hopefully people will like our music? In that I'm saying, was there a moment where the band got a little professional, like, we're really doing something here? Because there's no way you were thinking that in the early days of '85. But by the second album, you have to start thinking, damn man, this is our lives, we're really doing this. Was there a transitional moment where all of a sudden you turned a corner and did that affect the songwriting, the playing, the touring, and the dedication aspect of Dinosaur Jr.?
I thought there was a moment, we did a B-side for Repulsion single that was after the album, Faults of Passion, and that to me, I was really happy with. Like, it seemed like we were finally getting our own sound together, and that was a turning point to me. It was like, oh, finally, now we were kind of creating our own sound is coming finally after, trying some new stuff.
And did you guys have a feeling of this as well?
Yeah, and also, when living all over me, the goal was really to get on SST. We had always thought, wow, if we could just get on SST, and then that happened. So after that, it was kind of like, oh, so we are going to do this. We are going to continue. And then, but so that kind of progressed.
There's we've over the nights we've been talking about early Dinosaur Jr. tours, and like a lot of independent bands, you go out into the great wide open America and sometimes get it right in the teeth and have to struggle to get to the next town. The band breaks down, the audience isn't there. There's an open mic night in Atlanta when it should have been your gig, etc., etc. Sonic Youth, REM, Black Flag, all of them have at least 8 to 80 of those stories, because that was just kind of how it was. You had to be very, very tough. Did the reaction of audiences ever affect songs you wrote, how you played, or how you regarded your band?
No. We cut our teeth on Black Flag records and Minor Threat records. We did some hardcore. The whole thing is like, it's all about, you got your unit and you get out there and just do it, like you're not so worried about whether we didn't come off stage like, wow, it didn't seem like people liked us very much tonight. You're like, whatever, who gives a shit? Like barrel forward. That's what we learned from hardcore. That's what we learned from hardcore punk rock. It's like, you just barrel through, you don't look back, you're just looking forward, and whether people were there or not just was immaterial, because our favorite bands did not, play to nobody. Our favorite bands were struggling, and that's what. So we knew we were in for a struggle, and that's what we did, And
we're just trying to please ourselves, make music that we would like, and then hopefully other people would like it. That's the only way I thought it could work.
What year or what album was it where the first time you guys got all the way across America from the East Coast to the West Coast in performance mode? Like playing shows all the way to California?
Bug.
Okay, so it was the Bug album. And so, is it fair to say it was of the 3 albums, it was the Bug album that really broke the band open? In that I remember all 3 of those albums, and I remember you guys, I started seeing you guys in 1986. But it was that song, and I knew of you well before Bug came out, but it was the song Freak Scene from Bug, where people started saying, you know a band called Dinosaur? I'm like, yeah. Like, where have you been? And they had this song, I'm like, yeah, there's this album called Bug. And I think for a lot of people, maybe Bug was their first Dinosaur Jr. record. And so, you guys went to Europe on that album. What was the reaction in Europe?
It was great when we went to England. I just remember feeling like we were so well received that it was just a really great feeling. And the audience, we went from people just being kind of into it to just people being really, really amped.
Must be a good feeling.
We were also sort of getting written up in the Enemy and Melody Maker and stuff. When that starts to happen, you're like, they make you feel more important and popular than you really are in England.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, so they can tear you down later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You become because it's like a weekly press, so they always need fodder. So we became part of that fodder for a while. It was kind was sort of heady, you know, like, wow, okay. And they were really, and Jay had a really, you know, amazing dress style, you know, he wore medallions and shit, and his hair's all sticking up. And like, he looked, I mean, we had a cool look, and, you know, we were just these three weird American kids, you know, and people were into it.
And let's speak slightly extrospectively for a moment. You were part of a really great music scene, and I would count as your peers Sonic Youth, the Minutemen, the Meat Puppets, Black Flag, Minor Threat, the Bad Brains. And so you were part of, at least in my opinion, a wave of music that was going to change at least the American musical landscape. I don't think it's ever changed back in that the door was not only kicked open, it was dismantled, torn off the hinges, and we've never seen the door again. And you all are not the only band, but definitely one of the bands. And looking at that now, it's quite obvious. But back then, was there a sense of that at all? Because you were friends with Sonic Youth, you knew the people at SST, you had played with the Meat Puppets and Husker Du, you were aware of all these bands, and obviously you were part of it. What was that like?
That was amazing, you know, because we were like so influenced by that stuff. We were really influenced by Meat Puppets. And all you guys, you were like our musical big brothers, you know. It was like, so I don't know. That was to just be a part of that was almost enough for us. I mean, it was almost like when we did the Bug record, it was almost like we'd already done everything we wanted to do. We kind of approached the Bug record like we'd already reached the peak of the mountain when we were coming down. Honestly, we just felt like we'd already reached our peak. So.
And then, you know, the punk rock scene back then, it was definitely like a smaller, like a collective, and we definitely wanted to be part of that collective.
Did you feel a kind of unity? Because I do remember we were sleeping on other bands' floors. Other bands were coming to SST, sleeping on our floors. We were lending each other equipment. You had to be generous with each other because no one else was really helping you in those days. You really had to rely on other bands. I think there's some of that these days, but not like there used to be. I think it was out of necessity. Did you guys have that experience? You had like bands that were allies and
yeah, Flaming Lips. Screaming Trees.
Yeah, just a lot of bands with the same influences, you know. Everybody likes the same bands, you know. Everybody likes the Stooges and Black Sabbath, hardcore. They do different things with the influences, but you know, everybody has the same records, basically.
and the same challenges. And so you all, you know, there's a real empathy going on because what happened to you happened to them 2 weeks before, same club, same ripoff, etc. I would consider Dinosaur Jr. There's a beginning, there's an early period, a middle period, and a later period. The first period being the first 3 albums, the middle period being the 4 albums, which Murph, you're certainly on like most of the tracks. Lou, you're not. And then there's the third period that started in the mid-2000s, where the band got back together and released 2 really awesome records. The first being Beyond, and the second one being Farm. And so, over a really long period of time, the 3 of you together have released 5 really good records. And while all of us may have our favorite Dinosaur Jr. record, I think you'd be in agreement. There's no Dinosaur Jr. record that sucks. There's no Dinosaur Jr. record which you wonder, what were they thinking? They're all pretty damn good, which is a hell of a thing for a band to pull off when you figure how many bands didn't do that. And so, that being the case, they are really good records. And the new one, Farm, is a great record. And I saw both tours. Those were great tours. The last several shows on this thing, unbelievably fantastic. So, to sum it all up, let's sit remembering days of, you know, a bottle flying on stage or 12 angry people who didn't like you. Night after night, seeing a bunch of people who are really into this. What is that like?